Are you a career-driven mum who's here to generate and create a big impact in the world, and something seems to be holding you back? In this recording, I'm going to share with you the definition of childhood trauma. And the reason why it's so important for you to understand this definition is because what you may have experienced as a child, it's still running on your subconscious mind, your brain, your body. And that's what's keeping you stuck and holding you back from moving forward in your relationships, in your career, and emotionally and mentally. So, the definition of childhood trauma, it is described as a series of adverse experiences that you may have endured as a child. The experience or the event may have impacted you emotionally, mentally, and distressed you so much so that it has long-lasting impact on you mentally, emotionally, and physically. As a child, you may have witnessed an experience that was very, very negative. It may have been an experience between your parents. Maybe you saw your parents having an argument on a regular basis. That experience could have been traumatic for you as an individual. There is no correct definition. There's no one specific definition of trauma. Trauma is different for each individual. There's big trauma, there's small trauma. But generally speaking, trauma is an experience that has impacted you emotionally and mentally. That experience, it could have been an experience which you may have saw your parents arguing, fighting, shouting, any experience that caused you on an emotional level, psychological level, and your nervous system to feel unsafe. And when that has happened, that feeling of unsafety, it's still being played in your brain, your body, your nervous system, and your energy. And the reason why knowing this information is important is because you may be at a stage in your life right now that you feel very disconnected from your children. You're feeling disconnected in your marriage. You're feeling stuck in your career, and you know you can do so much better and create a bigger impact. You may be experiencing unexpected flashbacks from the past, and you're not sure why this is happening randomly and suddenly. In most cases, the reason why this happens, I know with my clients, is that let's say they experienced an adverse experience as a child at a particular age, maybe let's say for example at the age of 10. Now they've got a child who has reached that age, and subconsciously those flashbacks are being experienced. The body, the mind, and the energy is remembering whatever happened to you at that age where your child is at right now. It's so important for us to see, recognize, and understand what has happened in our past. When we've experienced a traumatic experience as a child, what generally happens is that we block our memory. We disconnect from our emotions. We are emotionally numb. We don't want to think of what's happened, and we don't want to feel those emotions. And blocking those memories is causing you to not realize what has happened. Okay? Childhood trauma, when we speak about trauma, as a society, we think about war. We think about, let's say, we think about traumatic experience, such as war, such as maybe refugees moving from one country to another, and that experience that they go through from, migrating from one country to another and fleeing war. That's what we think about when we think about trauma. But let me tell you something. As a child protection social worker who worked for the second largest child protection team in the UK, I actually thought that what I had experienced as a child was not that important. When I was working with my clients who had experienced sexual abuse, physical abuse, emotional neglect, and I saw what they were going through, what I had been through as a child did not seem so severe. But it was later on in life, after I had my children, and I actually found it very, very difficult to connect with my children, that I realized at that point that maybe what I had experienced as a child was still running in my body, was still running in my subconscious mind. And it was only when I was able to heal my past that I was able to connect with my children. I was able to quit my job and be able to start my own transformational practice, create a better, deeper marriage. You see, when we have experienced things from the past, we may not think it's that vital, but your body, the way it's responded to that experience, you may think on a logical level it wasn't so big that you went through. Most of the women that I work with are women who were raised by parents that had migrated to a Western country. And those parents had a very difficult time when they migrated from one country to another. And that they were in a very traumatic state, and they were raising children from this place of survival, and they did not have the skills or tools to be able to raise children who are emotionally and mentally stable. It was not their fault. They didn't have the tools and the resources. Now, what's happened is that being raised in an environment which wasn't safe, where you may not have been heard or seen, okay, has in itself may have been a traumatic experience. Hearing your parents shouting, yelling, arguing about lack of finances, all of that is a traumatic experience, an experience as a child that you have experienced which is traumatic. And all of that pain is still running in your body, your energy, and your subconscious mind. Yes, you may have been raised in the same environment as your siblings, and they may have not been impacted. But you may have. And why is that? And the reason why that is because everyone's nervous system, energy is different. Our coping mechanism is different. We are holistic, we are individual. And as individuals, we experience things very differently. And the only way to know if you are carrying unresolved wounds from your past, from your childhood, is that it may be showing up in your personal life right now, such that you're not able to sleep, you're experiencing flashbacks, you're feeling disconnected from your children, and you're behaving in ways that's not in alignment with your belief system. As a God-fearing woman, your belief system is about patience, kindness, calmness, but you're losing it with your children, and this is not your fault. It's because the wounds that you have experienced from your childhood, it's still inside of you. Until you remove that, okay, until you go deep enough and remove all of those wounds, You will continuously be behaving in ways that's not in alignment with your belief system. Another way that the impact of your childhood childhood trauma may be showing up is you feel really disconnected in your marriage. You want to run away, yet you have been married to an amazing guy, but you just want to run away. You feel really unsafe. You feel unsafe. You feel unsafe, and what happens is that because you feel unsafe, you're randomly triggered, okay? And physically, you may be feeling extremely weak. You may be experiencing headaches, migraines, and struggling to move. That is all because of what you've experienced as a child. That trauma is still stuck in your body. Knowing how the childhood trauma is showing up in your life right now allows you to be aware of this, knowing that there's nothing wrong with you. For a very long time, I thought there was something wrong with me. But it was only when I did my internal healing that I realized there was nothing wrong with me. It was what I was carrying in my body, my energy was stuff from my past. It was due to childhood trauma. I had a very difficult childhood, such that my brother passed away when I was 10. My sister passed away a day before my 16th birthday, and she was buried on my birthday. Throughout my childhood, I saw my mum hallucinate in front of me on a regular basis. I became my mum's carer, and I thought all of this was normal. It was part of a normal childhood. It was when I was doing my master's, and I was in my second year, and just about to graduate as a qualified social worker, when I experienced a breakdown. I actually had a panic attack, and that's when my journey began, and that's when I realized that the reason I was experiencing symptoms of panic attacks, overwhelm, numbness, not connecting to others, was because of everything that had happened to me up until that point in my life. I've been on my own healing journey since 2008, when I had my first ever panic attack. So much so I could not breathe, and I had to carry a bag with me, just so that if I did have a panic attack randomly, I was able to regulate my breathing. I had a decision at that point in my life whether I go down the medical route and take medication to help overcome these symptoms of anxiety that I was experiencing, or I figure out something else. I decided not to go on medication because I knew that I would be addicted and the side effects was too much than the benefits. So then I went on this journey of trying to heal myself holistically, which started with CBT. Then it was NLP coaching, and it was various types of coaching. It was hypnotherapy after that. And then finally, I found the missing piece, which was energy alignment as well as stress management tools. So when a client works with me now, I use a combination of my expertise as a child protection social worker with masters, working for the second largest child protection team. Hypnotherapy, I trained with the world-renowned hypnotherapist Marissa Peer. Stress management, resilience building tools, and energy alignment. With a combination of that, I go deep enough to remove those wounds and also give my clients the tools that they need to be able to finally heal their past so they can create a bigger impact in the world, move forward with their career, have a deeper connection with their children, live a fulfilled and happy and joyful life. If this message has resonated with you, do send me a comment below, send me a like. And I just want you to know from this message today that the next step that you can take is just to know the symptoms that you're experiencing right now, the triggers, the emotional overwhelm, feeling disconnected in your marriage. feeling feeling really triggered with your children, feeling disconnected with life, feeling alone, it's not your fault. These are all just symptoms of what you have experienced as a child. It's the trauma that you have gone through as a child, and all of the wounds as a result. It's been growing inside, and it's now got to a point where it's grown so big that it's showing up in different areas of your life, and it's just not your fault. If this message has resonated with you, please go ahead and send me a comment below.